Okay, let's analyze the balance sheet. Now, balance sheet potentially talks about this. So what we'll now do in this part of the learning is study certain important elements of the balance sheet, and we'll study how to record and account for them in the balance sheet. Okay. So before we start, what is the balance sheet comprising of? Assets, liability, equity. And you also know assets equals to liabilities plus equity. Simple. Assets are nothing but the resources that are used, correct, to resources which will accrue benefits in the future, right? So what are assets further broken down into? Answer? Fixed assets and
current.
very good. Fixed and current. So the correct answer is non-current assets and current assets. The non-current assets further comprise of, very good, tangible and intangible. Don't say non-tangible, it's intangible. Right? So we have non-current and current. Within non-current, tangible that you can see and touch, and intangible that you can't see and touch. And within current, obviously, you have all your cash, bank, debtors, prepaid, blah, blah. Clear? Same for liabilities. In liabilities, you have two categories. Non-current, you can't say fixed years, non-current and current. Within non-current, you will have everything that is more than 1 year, like bank borrowings and so on. And within current, you will have everything less than 1 year, like creditors, outstanding liabilities, and so on. Clear? Equity obviously is residual. It's sometimes referred to as net assets. This is everything else which comprises of share capital plus share premium plus retained earnings plus any other reserves that belongs to the company. Okay, so this is your broad balance sheet. So remember, non-current, current, assets, liabilities, and here, if I ask you where does goodwill fall, goodwill will fall in asset. Where under asset? No, where under intangible. So goodwill. So you have to understand where the flow will go. Here, now why is it very good to understand this? Because based on this, you will then understand how to record and account for every element in the balance sheet. If I say goodwill, you say, oh, it comes here, let me learn the accounting. So the accounting for intangibles will apply to everything. Goodwill, patents, trademarks, copyright, because those are all intangibles, non-current. So you have to learn it by classification. Clear? Okay. So make a quick note of that. Assets equals to liabilities plus equity. And the breakup further, just make a note of that. Okay. So let's quickly know what are intangible assets. You know, intangible you can't see and touch. They lack physical substance. Okay. Now within this broadly, there are two types. One, where you can actually identify how much is intangible. You can identify. You can break it up. Okay. So here I might have something that's identifiable, means it can be separated. Right? And you can measure the cost reliably. Example, suppose you want to apply for patent. You want to brand trademark. What is the cost of the trademark? You need to pay a certain fees to government, license fee, purchase fee. So you know the cost of creating a trademark. Obviously, plus other costs that you incur. So you can reliably measure the cost, and therefore you can also identify it, and therefore it's called identifiable. Right? Patents. You're paying franchisee fees as your Subway. You're paying McDonald's franchise fees. That's a payable. You know how much you're paying, and you can measure the cost. So intangible that can be measured reliably. The other one is it cannot be separated because it cannot be measured. Okay, and measured means measured reliably. I will not say, okay, I'm not measured. Example, you set up a shop. Let's say Theobroma. These two ladies came together. They set up a shop, a cafe. They spent years. After 7 years, they made the brand Theobroma. Today, the brand is big. When you enter Theobroma, you'll know it's a brand big at a certain quality, right? Now, they spent 7-8 years in the business, creating a brand. What is the amount of expenses they incurred to make the brand. Answer. How much did they spend? Can you measure that? No. They have spent their efforts, time, energy, sweat. They have spent all that. Did they spend money? No, they spend their energy. They spend their brains. They spend their time. That cannot be measured. They rate the brand based on their last 7 years efforts. Since I cannot measure, I cannot value. So I can't go and say Theobroma goodwill is worth 20 crores. I can't because it cannot be measured. So the best example is internally, if you are generating goodwill or a reputation for yourself, you cannot record. McDonald's, if you see a balance sheet, there is no value assigned to the brand name, but you know the brand is worth it. It's a big brand, but there's no value because they cannot measure how much they spend. It is internally generated through number of years of hard work. So therefore, it is not identifiable. I cannot separately identify for my business. So the key learning is this amount you say do not record because I can't identify it. In fact, if I record, I need to have something to record. Do I have a measure of cost? No. But this item, I know the cost, I know the separation, I know the amount. So this amount is saying do record it in your books. Obviously, if you record it, you will show it in the balance sheet, right, as a non-current asset.
If that company is bought, then if I'm buying that company, then I can mention that. Then I can mention that goodwill in my balance sheet, right?
Obviously, very good. So now if the boss, then what do I do? Now when Theobroma sold the business to someone else, they have that. They have valued the business. They say, boss, my books do not have goodwill because I'm not allowed to. But you and I, we both know that there's a goodwill to my name. We both know that when I say Theobroma, people will pay 300 rupees for a cake. If I say cake, they'll pay 50 rupees, 100 rupees. The Theobroma brand demands money, right? So when I sell the business, I can tell the buyer my brand is worth 200 crores. He can value it. He'll have to do some valuation and say, fine, it's worth that much. So nothing stops you from trying to sell your brand. What I'm telling you, you cannot record the brand value in your books, but you can value it when you want to sell. Now, this is the interesting part. Let's say someone bought Theobroma brand for 500 crores. They pay those sisters 500 crores and they say, fine, now the brand is mine. The person who bought the brand can record it in his books as a brand because he has paid money. It can be measured. I paid 500 crores. So can I measure the value of the brand? Yes. So when the brand of goodwill is first sold, the new party can start recording the goodwill because he has paid money for it. Are we clear? So why C cannot be measured and therefore do not record in balance sheet. Why I say that? Because I cannot measure. But the moment I can measure, I will record. So the first buyer will always record. The first fellow, and that's why I told you clearly, internally, if you generate goodwill, you will not record it because you have no, you can't find the value. Are we clear? So there's a key concept of assets which are identifiable, will record, not identifiable, do not record. Clear? And let me give you this also. There's only one asset which you cannot identify as internally generated, and that is goodwill. Every other asset like patent, trademark, brand name can be. Example, you have a superb story. You want to sell it to Karan Johar, right? A film story. You know Karan Johar gets hundreds every day and you feel it might hit a jackpot, right? So you wrote a beautiful story. You're scared that after I show it to him, he may rob the story. This has happened also, no? That movie, Juk Juk Jio, right? Practical example, this is really true. One story writer sent the story to Karan Johar and said, I want you to listen to it. If you like the story, I'll sell it to you for 20, 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs. He said, no, I'm not interested. He went and made that story into a movie called Juk Juk Jio. That fellow found out that the story was used. He sued him. He took him to court. He showed the proof that this story has emailed it to you. Obviously, the court took send. He went. He settled the amount. That's why, if you remember, the movie was delayed. Then they had to push it, and they paid that fellow some money because of his story. So this is what happened, and this happens. How do you protect your story from being robbed like this? Luckily, he had a proof of an email. But suppose he went and told a story one-to-one, he has no proof. You can go and copyright your story with the Copyrights Act by paying 7 or 10 rupees. Your story is protected. If tomorrow anyone robs the story, you will be compensated for the full profits, not just the money. जो कितना भी profit बनाया, you will have to pay the money to this fellow. So go write stories and protect it. So not only so, even name. Let's say tomorrow, Operation Sindoor, when it happened, the Sindoor word got copyrighted. So no one could use the word Sindoor anywhere because that word got copyrighted. So therefore, any movie is released, you cannot use the name unless the name is available on the domain. Like Jawan, all these movies, you cannot use this unless it is not protected. So that is copyright, but you're paying money for that. That money is called your value. You're measuring it. Is that clear? So every intangible asset like copyright and all can be measured by the amount you paid for it. Only goodwill cannot be measured. Are we clear? Here are the examples, right? It's very important. Therefore, intangible asset finds a very unique place. Okay, quickly make a note of it. So key learning is this: separated, not separated, measured, cannot be measured, record, you cannot record. That's it. That's the key learnings between identifiable and non-identifiable. Okay, learn these three differences because that will decide your accounting.